Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another new shell combo that we haven't tested, and I'm definitely excited to see how it can do since this lineup of shells has done very well so far in our testing. So there's definitely the potential that these continue that trend and also give us a really nice pattern. But as for those shells we've got today, I brought out some of these, the new Winchester Longbeard TSS shells, but these ones are the 28 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, 1 1/4 ounce payload of TSS 9s. Moving about 1,050 feet per second. These new Winchester Longbeard TSS shells have done great in pretty well all of our testing with them. So hopefully the 28 gauge version can also do well, but I don't believe these use that same really dense, kind of clumpy, waxy type of buffer material like the 12 gauge ones, and I believe the 20 gauge ones as well use. So I guess we'll see what kind of a pattern they can give us. But as for the setup we're going to run them through, I brought out my Tristar Viper 28 gauge, which is a pretty new shotgun to me. I haven't done a whole lot of testing with 28 gauge in general, yet alone this shotgun. And for a choke, we've got the Trulock TSS Turkey, which is a 515 constriction. I think we've tested this choke once before with some pretty decent results, and 515 should be a pretty good combination with a TSS 9. So we'll see what this combination can give us with those Winchester Longbeard TSS loads. But as for our test today, everything is the same as usual. I've got the turkey target at 40 yards, and I've got the chronograph so we can get our velocity from the shell. So let's take our shot and see what we get. Alright, so that shell gave us 1,057 through the chrono. The boss claim is 1,050, so we pretty much hit the nail on the head right there. So I'd say their claim is pretty accurate through that TriStar anyway, which I believe has a 26-ish inch barrel on it, so that definitely does make sense. So looking about as good as we can up here for velocity, but what kind of a pattern did that combo give us down there at 40? Let's go check it out and see what we got. All right, well, now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. And I gotta say, that's a pretty nice looking pattern right there. We were just a touch off to the right, which was probably just me, considering I only have 5 or 6 shots through the shotgun so far since I've owned it. So I'm still getting used to it a little bit, but we still would have had a dead turkey there all day long. There's a ton of them through the neck and another through the eyeball right there. But our pattern is very uniform and even. We have a nice hot core just to the right of that bird neck there. It's a pretty even spread of them all throughout there. So yeah, that is a very nice hunting pattern right there. Now around the edges, we do have a couple of little flyers and stuff up here at the top, which isn't a huge deal. And maybe over here towards this right edge, we might have 1 or 2 little voids right through there, but those are kind of getting towards the outskirts of the pattern a little bit. So not a huge deal, and definitely would not have affected the killing potential of that pattern at all. So I really like that pattern right there. I've probably seen a few people get tighter patterns out of a 28 gauge load, but ultimately that's about the perfect hunting pattern in my opinion. It gives you a nice even spread with a lot of pellets throughout the core area. It does give you quite a bit of leeway to work with while not being blown completely all over the place. As you can see, we definitely did favor a little to the right, and we still would have absolutely hammered that turkey at 40 without a doubt. And with that kind of a pattern, if you misjudge your range or might have to take a 45-yard shot or maybe even a 50-yard shot, this pattern is going to be capable of doing it. So I really like that. I wouldn't hesitate in the slightest to take that out on a turkey hunt at all. So I kind of think that pattern speaks for itself a little bit. I'll give you guys another little close-in zoom up here of it so you can see how even the spread is, because throughout that middle 10 inches or so, we're beautiful looking. Once again, around the edges, we might have a couple little bits of splotchiness on the very outskirts with a couple of flyers around the edges, but hey, that is about the perfect hunting pattern in my opinion right there. So I'd say this combo worked out pretty nice, and this is the first test we've done with those Longbeard TSS 28 gauge loads, and if this is our starting point, then I think they're going to be a pretty good shell, and that kind of does continue the trend we've seen with them. They've been some very nice performers across the board, and at about I think $45-ish a box, they're not the cheapest shell out there, but they're not the most expensive either, and for that kind of performance, I think that's pretty realistic all things considered compared to the other loadings in the market right now. So I don't think there's a whole lot we can complain about here. That is absolutely a very nice hunting pattern, and I'm definitely excited to see what else we can get from those shells through some other choke combos. But I'd say that is about perfect right there, to be honest with you. I wouldn't hesitate in the slightest to turkey hunt with that any day of the week. And here's the wad from that shell. Definitely nothing too fancy looking, but it definitely did its job, I'd say. We might have had this one pedal over here open a little farther than the rest, but there's nothing stuck down in there. There's no damage to it at all anywhere. No snags, no rips, pinholes, nothing like that. So it looks perfectly fine. And I'd say we should be able to see more good performances from it through other chokes. So I don't think there's really much to be concerned about here as far as the wad goes. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that performance right there? I'd say that's pretty close to the perfect hunting pattern. I know some people might like it a little bit tighter, some might like it a little more open, but in my opinion, that's about perfect right there. The middle 10 to 12 inches is really even. You have a lot of pellets within there. Outside of that, it does give you a little bit of leeway to work with while not scattering pellets all over the place. We might have saw a couple of flyers up there at the top and maybe one or two little golf ball sized voids right on the edge of the pattern, but none of that is really concerning. That is absolutely a 40-yard turkey hammering pattern without a doubt. So for our first test with the 28 gauge Longbeard TSS shells, I'd say we're looking pretty good so far. I wouldn't hesitate to take that out on a turkey hunt any day of the week. So leave all your thoughts down in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these new Longbeard TSS shells or the 28 gauge version? And if so, what kind of results have you seen? Would you turkey hunt with that pattern? Or would you like to see it a little tighter or a little more open or whatever the case would be? And what other shell and choke combos do you want to see us test in 28 gauge? I've got plenty more shells and chokes on the way, so let me know what you guys want to see. At the end of the day, that is a pretty fantastic looking 40-yard pattern for a 28 gauge. I don't think we really have much room to complain about that at all. So I'd say we're looking really good here. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we got the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.